This is my hotel room in the Hotel Natraj. Once probably a cute little hotel. Now it serves well the people who use it. And it's not tourists, as he informed me nicely. And not with any rancor, just, he said, we don't get many tourists. This is the bathroom, no lights, no sink, just that tub you fill with water, then you use that little cup there to flush the toilet. And there is a bum wand or bum spray there. My Hotel Natraj, and theoretically I can go left and then left or right again. So this is how you take a bucket shower. This is tepid water, slightly above cool, or cold, but not by much. So I'm going to have to give this a shot at the experience. The last time I did this was in Guatemala along the coast, and the young girl brought down a bucket like this from way up on the hill. But there temperature was probably in the 90s to 100. Here it's not that warm. Fair recipient. Looking for vegetables I've never seen before. Can't see any. So that's different. Apple, good. Opens up a little bit more, and there's a temple of some sort here. But by now it's all covered with the detritus of the developing, overpopulated area. This is very sweet, but I don't quite know what it is. Huh?
Historical sweet.
Historical sweet, yeah. Oh, and then they fry it? Huh. Tucks are very elaborate. This one looks like it's made of silver. You see that gorpa for another temple back in there. The building, don't know what it was, but it's pretty the way it's done. Interesting tuk-tuk also. These are confectioners, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, retracing my steps just to make sure I've got a sense of place here. At the end of this street looks like an outstanding temple. At one time, you wonder again, it's like all over the world. There was a time when this was a very wide open area and you could actually see that temple. I think the approach to my house, but can you imagine what this gate would have looked like without all this other crap buildings around it? Who knows how many decades this goes back, or centuries. There's an irony in a man from Wyoming, traditionally known as cow country, completely surrounded almost by a herd of cows in the middle of India. An expectant welfare recipient. The streets with the respect of a lama. Wandering in the opposite direction from where my hotel is. And again, an attempt to get a sense of direction and place, and I think where I wandered to before I turned around was to the right of me. Look at those old doors there. Around is interesting architecture. Stop to look at it. Imagine when this was new, when the area was pretty. Next door is this very lovely face building. And could this have been some kind of really an important gate to this area of the city? In order to appreciate that building, you'd have to tear out a lot of that surface crap that's been added over the years. The old door on this building. Notice it uses the same kind of swing that you'd see on a castle. Notice that these are also those rocks with a hole in them. I wonder if somehow this technique or concept was applied at the stepwells. Look at this building.
that classic bit of overhang to give a little bit of more value to the building without taking away from the street direction. Here's the remnants underneath the whatever, new plaster or whatever. It's a very pretty building. You just begin to make out how pretty it might have been. I noticed at one time it was plastered over. Massive doors. Couple camels up there. Buildings here, and imagine them in their heyday, which might have been the heyday of 1850. Kind of wandering into a back street courtyard, if you will, and it brought me to exactly what I wanted to be. Looking up at this old, beautiful building. Notice what I once called a granny's cap architecture in the center, bracketed by two dome or onion type domes. Let's go up and look at, fortunately, some of the detail that continues to survive. This is underneath the first portion that I just panned. Orientate you. This is a pretty little architectural feature. That onion top. I'll take it as close a look as I can at this stuff here. Whatever this temple once was, it would have been quite beautiful. Now we're going to take it. Now we're taking it. Yeah. Yeah, so now we're taking it. Now do you want to see it? And watching me photograph this, probably wondering what could he possibly see in that old building. But look at how pretty that must have been with that whole arched balcony. Probably once was a rather important area that I'm standing in. It no longer is. It never was paved. But there are temples around. And then this not so terribly old gate that now has fallen into disrepair, of course. Spinning wheel, either that or it's used for heating up metals, I'm thinking. What they use it for welding metals and so forth. Canyon building with the same decor to the one we just saw. And look at down there. Pretty looking, probably a mosque. Like so many parts of the world, this speaks to an earlier antebellum period. A gate at that same taxi area that theoretically is on the road that goes to the railroad station, but it immediately just turns and goes out here, so I'm confused now. No big surprise. This was a pretty darn big building when it was built. Wonder what it was for. men have swept all this dirt and grime on this street up into a pile. A series of piles. That man sweeps it into the gutter, I think, and then these guys dig it out of the gutter, and then they pull it in this tractor and wagon to get rid of it. So things do happen, just takes time. Here's a pretty building. Looks like it's just a small temple, if you will. Is when you're in a place like this, you look for every little scintilla of what looks like an interesting architectural or historical past. Making a loop now, coming back around a different street, but that saw that pretty Gorpa, I think it's called. This project of cleaning up is to get the swill out of those gutters. It's just a black sewage looking color. Interesting piece of sculpture and that. What doesn't look like a very extravagant house when it was built or building. Pretty storefront. Building with a little bit of color left on it. This is the first gate that I came through when I was walking from my hotel. Got a little gridlock here. Seems everybody blows their horns until something happens. Top above the entrance. Now just pan around for the fun of it. Once we can see the sun, there isn't the pollution out here. It's so horrifying in Delhi. Although down at street level I wear my mask because the buses and everything else kick up a lot of dust into the air. This is a pretty little restaurant up on top, isn't it? Market below us with the men hawking their wares. Very much like it was in Palermo. Another temple right there. And then there's that interesting building that we saw wandering around when I was getting my bearings. The view from my bedroom, or my room. That they've chosen the cow, one of the dumbest animals on earth, it seems to me, as their most reverential symbol. Almost 7 o'clock in the morning, my first full day in Nawalgarh, and we're going to leave here with a fellow, I think his name is like Schwarz, on his motorcycle to go to Mandawa first, and then hitting a small town with some important historical things to see in Dulat, I think it says, although that's also a North Vietnamese name, but I'm probably mispronouncing it. And then here to look at the Havelis. What they do is throw all this trash out here in the middle of the night when they're done with their shops, I guess. And then someone comes along and picks it all up before the day starts, I hope. But the power went off about 15 minutes ago. Not unusual. Went out several times in Delhi. Tuk-tuk all lit up. That's cute. I expect that tuk-tuk drivers, there's so many of them, but I'm taking a flying guess, 500,000 of them, at least in India. That it's a culture of its own, so that for some their appearance of their tuk-tuk is a self-worth issue. This music starts early in the morning, like about 5, but it ends from the day before at about 2:30 or 3, and I think it's just somebody pumping out the music from loudspeakers. But it's the ambience of the street. It's just part of the cacophony of this India. The irony is when you're shooting video, you don't need to worry about background music. This is what kills Indians. That's a burlap bag plus some paper to get that thing started, and I was going to probably throw it on that pile of trash. Now all of that plastic will burn. Look at that. And all over India, all over the cities, this is happening. In the silver shop areas of Delhi, there are women. I never saw them, I never had that much time, who in the mornings sluice through the mud that's in the gutters for little bits of silver that they might find. But it's these ladies that clean up these streets, obviously. Warm and drink their tea. Huge pile of trash that the cows are browsing in. Wonder how that'll get cleaned up. Young man's setting up shop. Spilled on the floor, so he's wiped that up with a burlap, and now he'll dump it on the fire over there. That dog moves with very furtive moves because he knows that his well-being is at risk if he happens to encounter the dogs that really control this area. The truck that delivers the groceries to these shops, the biggest problem is getting over that pile of trash so it can set up to unload. I did it. Morning, the lady behind those colored curtains and that pigeon, you can see her moving about, came downstairs, got a cup of chai tea, I'm sure, and delivered it either to herself upstairs or to her husband. Yesterday at the subway, or at the railroad station, I asked the tuk-tuk driver how much it would cost to go to here, and he said 100, and I'd been told by the owner 10 is what you should pay. So I said no way, and I laughed at him and said no way, and started walking away, and eventually, within minutes, a very tall, powerful, young and smart-looking man, and I started chatting, and he has a business interest in Delhi, as well as parents living here and family living nearby. So he offered to take me up to the hotel, although it turned out he didn't really know where it was. But we stopped and had my first Thai chai tea, and then on the back of his motorcycle, we shot up to the hotel with him inquiring every so often exactly where it was. Not only in the labyrinth of what I think is this major market, but it is inside of a square building complex in that market.